Hi, everyone.
Hi, Lauren.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Brilliant. Okay, so I think we should probably, as we're 5 minutes over the start, we should probably crack on. If anyone, obviously, like last time, there was a few people. Obviously, Connor and Elzevir are joining us today. But we sort of talked about the reboot to the network. Had a great discussion. I think everyone fed back that it was really good last time, our meeting, and hope everyone will nod as well, at least, in the people who are there, and really enjoyed it. And we had some actions that we went through, but let me share a couple of slides. I'm not done death by PowerPoint at all. I just wanted to share. I think we had trouble last time doing this, Julie. Let me just share that. Is that going to share? Can everyone see that?
You're lagging a bit for me. Can everyone else hear okay? It might be my Wi-Fi. Yeah, it's my Wi-Fi, so
Okay.
I think it's up. Yeah, we can see that. Thanks, Trevor.
So I just sort of put a couple of slides just to introduce us again. But obviously, we talked about the responsibility we all have to attend the meetings and get involved. But also, it's important to know that it's your meeting, and I'm just here to chair and support. And I think we had a really good discussion last time about different topics. There were some actions that came out of the meeting, which we'll talk about in a second. But obviously, just some welcome instructions to start with. We'll talk about the actions, and then Rohit is kindly sort of put himself forward to do a bit of a discussion with one of the topics that we talked about in quite a lot of detail last time. So thank you, Rohit, for doing that. And we'll have 20 odd minutes on that, and then some questions. And I hope that's really interesting for people. And I'm looking forward to doing that. So. And then talk about the article, hopefully for the next edition of the Sentinel magazine. A little section on career and questions, and we've got some information me and Julia share in terms of Shirley Parsons, isn't it, Julie? In terms of
it is, yes.
Talk to them. Liam he's keen to come onto network and talk about what they do in terms of career progression, support, etc., and look to work with RRSM a little bit more. And then we talk about some AOB, where it's an opportunity to sort of anyone bring up anything that they want to talk about that might be useful for themselves, or a subject that maybe we should talk about, or might be useful for other people in the network. And then a little bit in terms of wrap up in terms of what's going on in terms of RRSM, and then date next meeting. So it sounds a lot, but there's obviously a few bits that we're going to go through. If I just again share a different piece of my screen. In terms of the actions from last time, just to make sure we're following those. He says if he opens the right screen. I don't know if everyone can see that against my screen. So obviously Rohit's going to present some information about some learnings and some experiences got in terms of implementing process of different stakeholders, getting people involved in that risk management. From the top to the bottom.
Agenda, Trevor, is that right?
Sorry?
I can still see the agenda in PowerPoint, is that right?
No, there's another bit. Sorry, Connor. You're
right.
seeing my skills. Can you see that? Maybe this is where Zoom lets me down, isn't it? Let me just share something else.
Got two screens, Trevor?
Yeah, possibly. It's not dragged across. There you go. Let's start again. I'm
It's
glad someone said something, Connor.
I would say stop sharing.
There you go. I was in mid-flow. You'll see that a lot in these meetings.
You were glitching for me. I'm struggling with sound, so if you have to ask me something twice, I apologise.
So these are the minutes. You would have seen the minutes. Can you see that, Connor? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Rohit's going to give us a great presentation, and I think it's a subject we talked about, and I think it's a topical, a really good topic for the emerging risk leaders in terms of how we get that flow of risk management from board down to the frontline operations, which is all we're fighting for, aren't we? That buying. I shared some slides in the minutes last time about a project that I was working on when the network was fully sort of implemented. First of all, the podcast that we did, that I did with Mohit, came out of that, and I shared the slides because that's something that came up in terms of what does that professional look like in 2030 or 2035, or whatever we want to do. So I shared that. So if anyone's got any comments on that or a project that we want to draw out of that again, there is some talk about doing some more stuff with the podcast again. So that's something that we're hopefully going to be able to sort of talk about in the future. I talked about exploring the possibility of organising a discussion about construction site risk assessment that came from one of the attendees last time, asking about how to do that, how to get multiple contractors, subcontractors, and maybe talk about that in terms of a future meeting. So that's put into the database of what we want to talk about. We maybe just pick that up at the next meeting. And then Lauren has already shared with the group, hopefully people got that in terms of some insights and challenges about business continuity. And I know Julie shared a webinar for business continuity, which was really useful to do that. So there might be some stuff that we can pick up on that. So, and then Lauren again sort of shared an email yesterday about, and maybe Lauren would just get you to talk about that a bit later on, just to close that up in terms of what you shared, but the experience of change in organisational expectation of health and safety and the team's role and responsibility, and that's quite good, a good topic for me at the moment. We're doing that sort of process as well, so that'd be quite a nice little discussion that we can pick up. And then everyone had an action, and you know, if you haven't, please feed back on it in terms of KPIs that are used to measure success. I know Rohit, you might even sort of touch on that in terms of your presentation a little bit, or a discussion afterwards, but people are going to share some examples about how their businesses, how they set those KPIs up in terms of different industries, and maybe we can all learn a little bit so we can implement our own work. And then a few other little bits in terms of, you know, the business continuity webinar and the ISO standards link, and then the WhatsApp page that we were suggesting to set up, which we did set up. And if you've not been included on that, then we can make sure that's updated. So was there any comments or questions on those actions? I think the minutes should be agreed. They were a good reflection and the actions out of that. No, everyone happy? Yeah, okay. So unshare and share again in terms of the slides. But you know, in about 3 years' time, I might get used to this.
Need some help, Trevor.
No, that's right. I'm just trying to hold back a sneeze, Julie. I was just
okay.
a sneeze. So,
I'll leave you in peace then.
Man flu is a terrible thing. If I can call it that. Let's have a look. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's share that. You have to bear with me, guys. Okay, yeah, so we've gone through the agenda, the actions, and you know, now I think Rohit, if you're happy to present some of that information, that you know, really interesting stuff for me especially, but I'm sure great for the guys. If you want to sort of run through in terms of, you know, how implementing the process of involving different stakeholders, how you've done that where you work, and how it's worked, what hasn't worked, really importantly. But if you want to just give us an overview, and then maybe some questions and discussion afterwards.
Okay, I'm happy to do so. So let me play with the Zoom. Okay, so hope it works. Let me know if you can see my screen now. You can see my screen.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so thanks for Trevor for this opportunity as well. Okay, so about me first, I'm Rohit Sharma, work for ABB last 17 years, been in different role in health and safety profession and the risk management profession, and also having some background of project management and site management, where I have started my career in a substation business. So ABB, hopefully everyone knows, we are the brand who is bringing power automation and digitalization to the real world, actually. So from power generation up to the home, and I today work for process industry business, where we cover different industries globally. I'm responsible for a global business for process industries, which cover mining, metal, pulp and paper, data centers. Okay, so we are like out of ABB's 34 billion business, we are responsible for 1.7 billion business across the globe. So in this kind of a global context, we are quite active as a ABB around 100 countries. But in my business, I'm responsible for 40 countries where we have active operations. And this also brings some complexity to manage the risk on daily basis. So today I'm going to present you how, as a corporate perspective, this health and safety risk management that really matters, and how we can shift the focus from HSE risk to the business continuity risk. How we been mature over the time in this journey. Okay, but for the key success factor for our risk maturity within the organization was engagement and a simplification of the processes. And today we are driving a focus on operational resilience, so which means the business continuity. So even every downtime with respect to finance, with respect to customer relationship, with respect to delivery, including the HSC, that has not been considered separately, okay, by the organization, by the leadership team within the organization. So they connect the dots quickly together, actually, that health and safety not being treated as a separate topic within the organization. So today I can say that we have this kind of maturity within the organization. We really talk about risk, not only HSE risks. So how we been to this like a maturity within the organization. So we are one of 20 divisions within ABB. We have 20 vertical businesses are there, and I am representing one of the business of ABB in the process industries. But we have a core and common principles where we have a common standard. We say ABB way within our organization. We have one management system fully implemented across the globe, but management system is still a framework. Actual implementation matters with the people. Okay, so who are taking decisions, who are managing the people day to day basis, and who are managing the operations. So any journey for the risk maturity, it's a building block for me. I hope everybody has played with Jenga. So this Jenga game itself, that represent how we manage risk in a real time. So even now we integrate this Jenga game in our leadership risk management courses as well, in a master class, where we really ask the team to build a Jenga, which means you have to plan the whole strategy, you have to communicate within the team as well, and ultimately come up with this Jenga structure, which should be a stable structure. And what kind of the risk element you consider for that. That is one of the learning aspect we have integrated in our leadership courses as well. But ultimately, when we go for risk management practices of the theory, either the risk management only to deliver the safer operations, or we have to apply a bigger lens to deliver the business, or to deliver the aim and objective, what we aim for. So that is a boardroom discussion. The time we only stick up to the health and safety conversation, I think then the discussion been parked to the functional people only. But the time we plug it to have a wider context, we show them the risk in the business continuity, what downtime, what impact, what kind of challenges we can forecast as part of this risk management exercise. You will see the engagement level of the people is going to be really different. So this Jenga game, once we play with a different level of organization, you can see everyone bring on a table a different context of the risk management. So what is the risk management strategy we apply? Okay, so risk management is a proactive thought process, okay, to forecast what disruption can go wrong and how it can impact our people, our business continuity, and our operation, as well as our reputation in front of the customer, in front of the even they link it with the market penetration as well, because at the end of the day, all the big brands, even they're concerned about their brands. And now with that, once those conversations happen at early stage, everybody focus on eliminating of those risks rather than applying the control for those risks. Okay, so this I also will cover in one of my slide down the line, that where our as a risk professional, our focus should be. We should target elimination, or we should focus to apply the control. Because the time we talk to the operational people, we naturally switch to the control mode. But the time you will talk to the leadership in the boardroom as well, they will be more concerned about eliminating or minimizing those risks at early stage in the decision making, even shifting some of the risk from your plate to the customer plate as well, okay, with the stronger contract conditions. So today we have a quite mature process embedded from the sales stage, then the mobilization stage. Let me just use the laser as well. So mobilization stage, execution stage, even we do a lot of export projects, which means Today in the UK, we have a pulp and paper business, but our engineers also travel to the different countries. So how they have to be well prepared? Maybe there is a ABB local office. Maybe we don't have a local office over there. So even we integrated travel management and crisis management as well as part of the risk management framework for them. And ultimately, all those first block, how effectively those working, that last bit is linked somehow in our management incentive KPIs today. So Trevor, you was asking about the monitoring and control. So it's mean we drive in the organization accountability framework. So whoever the business leader is responsible for profit and loss for these all four elements, equally that person become accountable as well to monitor the effectiveness of those risk measures on the ground. There it comes as a come in picture about the audits or the management tour, which we say SOTs, also the management review discussions, those comes in the picture. So this is our framework, what we apply from the planning stage, which is on the red element from the day one. When we start to scope the job, we are in a project nature of business. We have a service nature of business, and also we have a factories. So factories, those are our feed factory for our projects. So it's mean the day one we book order, we start to formalize the risk application process. Oh, which geography we are going to deliver, who is going to be our customer, okay, how we are going to ship or make a logistic of those items, what is the scope agreement with the customer, who is going to install, either we are going to install or a customer, it's in a customer scope, what is our role as a supervision over there. So all the terms and condition been narrowed down, integrating the health and safety risk consideration at that stage, which is also linked with the financial costing model as well. It's a natural process of our sales team. And from there onwards, once we move from that stage, we win the order, we pass it on to the operation team in the formal handover. So it is also the transferring of the risk from one person to the second person, because sales make all the agreement with the customer, while in execution, our operation team has to be clear what are the pre-negotiation condition we agreed with the customer, and that lead to the full operation cycle up to the warranty mode. A lot of time we've been called out by our customers during the breakdown shutdown stages as well. Like Trevor, you was mentioning, you was in a wind farm. If you have a maintenance over there, you will get a call, but that is totally a different business model where maybe one engineer will be traveling to the site. So in that case, we have to apply a different framework of the risk management for a single individual who is going to work under the authority of the customer over there. So what we drive within the organization, every individual from the sales, from the leadership up to the end user in the organization, they have a role to play. But as we will be proactive in this area, we can eliminate or we can minimize those risks. But the time we sign off the order, okay, and we took that order, we have to move on, then we have to control those risks, somehow applying the different level of controls, which will be having a human error possibility. So in simple words, okay, so how we apply today risk leadership versus operational excellence, which means a resilient operation, what we want to drive. So we first of the things, our leadership team should be on board on these principles. So risk management processes or framework, those should not look stronger on the paper itself. Those are not there only for the achieving the ISO 45000 or other certification itself. So ultimately, the tone should be set from the day one. We should be clear which industry, which customer, which location, which geography we are going to penetrate, we are going to go for the business, and what are the risks related to health and safety, environment, security, even human rights we plugged over there as of today. And then we go for a risk review and decision making, which means from the day one, we have an understanding what may go wrong in our business. And then once we win the order, we have integrated operational risk management processes. And then ultimately, we are depending on our operations to manage the risk on the ground itself. But based upon our recent trend of incidents, okay, we had a critical management review on this, and maybe you all will agree with me on this, being a risk professional. We have a over dependency today on this red circle, which means our operational people to manage the risk, while decision been made in the boardroom, okay, to enter in a risky business or risky operations. So then we are shifting now the mindset of our organization as well. Let's take away the burden from this team, okay, and have a concrete decision on the day one, and make our choice. If we know we want to go for this business having some risk, start to plug those processes and mitigation control at early stage, renegotiate with the customer the terms and condition, maybe invest in the better competence or better contractors, like incentive your contractors as well. But don't depend on the one project manager or one site manager to manage 100, 200, or 500 people at the last stage. Otherwise, maybe we are fooling ourselves. So this kind of maturity or learning from the experience is also helping us to shift the psychologically shift in our people or in our leadership today, and shifting from rule based approach to the value based thought process, eliminating the risk at the early stage. So any feedback or any comment on this slide, or maybe I would like to hear from you as well, actually, that how you see, is it really a meaningful, like a slide, which may also one of your experience in your businesses?
I think it's a brilliant way. Thank you, Rohit. So far, I've really enjoyed it. And I think it's a problem that we see, where I know I see where I work and where I have worked in terms of, and I'd be interested the same as what people say, is like, we get these projects in, you know, if it's tender-based project or contracts, etc. And if you don't get that business strategy right and you're driving that elimination piece, it does sit sometimes. And also it could be a feeling as well that some of the guys on the ground are just left with having to think up those controls or implement those controls to try and keep their head above water, if you want to call it like that. And that elimination strategy, the hierarchy of control, which shouldn't work like that, should it? It shouldn't be left to them to sort of, like you say, last ditch. So I think it's a great way of demonstrating it. And as professionals, I mean, I'll ask at the end of your presentation, it'll be nice to know how successful it's been, because obviously it looks great in terms of shifting that value base and how it works, but don't answer that yet. Anyone else got any comments in terms of so far what Rohit's been describing?
No, I think it's very positive. It reflects our own view, and it's nice to see a different take on it. I think what's really interesting is the slide previous, where you really paint out the different parts of the operations. And normally the belief is that the risk exists at the operational bits, the maintenance bit, the construction, I think commissioning, you had it on there. But actually understanding that risk has got so many opportunities before that in the process. And it's only when we join up all that thinking and that strategic thinking at an organizational level that it all really ties together. And I think that's where the most benefit exists. So I'm really interested.
And on this point as well, what benefit we have got as a function, as a health and safety function, we have eliminated the blame culture within the organization. None of the incident today, actually, that is a reaction by the organization anymore. Because earlier I have seen over the time the maturity within the leadership team, earlier the incident happened, we all react to that to control the situation. But now we want to learn it actually, and we want to go back and look in where the decision making process has went wrong actually, and how we have to improve this for the future learning organization from here.
I think for me, it's, and exactly what you just said, if you go back one slide, Rohit, if you can, the one comment I was going to say is where's the feedback loop? You know, where we've got that process, but how do you get that lesson learned piece in there? And obviously it's not, you think of that plan, do, check, act. You know, I love, like Colin said, I love the way you've set it out, and I can see you using that myself in terms of my management team, in terms of how they work and getting the thought process and that sort of image structure. But how does it work where in AVB in terms of making sure you capture those learnings as well? Because obviously at the moment it's quite linear.
So I can simplify it over here. Okay, from this stage, this is a sales organization, and here is operations organization. There's a formal handover. Okay, formal handover. There's a pre-sales HSE plan, where is an execution HSE plan. There's a formal handover, and from here we have a self-assessment program, which is a audit mechanism from health and safety. Plus we have a project review, quarterly review, monthly reviews, where HSE been integrated over there. So I have almost like a 2,200 project active globally. From one database, I can open it out the maturity of every project over there. Okay, so those kind of tools we have available. So even we have and lessons learned is not HSE lessons learned only. Lessons learned is
Yeah.
also if we have failed to deliver milestone, everything, and that has been embedded as a PM's responsibility. We have a
Right.
framework, certification process for every PM. So that is the accountability of the PM. We treat them as a CEO of the project. So they are the CEO of the project and they have to implement it.
Okay. Yeah, and that works. And so far, and obviously you might get to that, how successful that's been. Maybe just carry on. Anyone else, Elzeby or Lauren, have you got any comments in terms of what Rohit's presented so far?
So I'm happy to just cover some take the question at the last as well. Maybe
Yeah, okay.
something I haven't
Perfect,
covered.
yeah.
Maybe I can provide additional
Carry on.
information.
That was a great place to stop. I think it was really good. Carry on.
So as I just mentioned, we have a ABB way of HSE and security. We have a one common management system across the globe in 100 countries, all the 20 divisions down the line. We stick to one common language, ABB way HSE management system, which is in line to 45001. And in line to that, we have also a risk management model starting from, let me just jump in over there. These are the risk management process we have embedded at organization level. Okay, where the leadership engagement is there. So we use a term responsible manager, starting from CEO up to every P&L, profit and loss responsible manager is a responsible manager. Profit and loss responsible is a responsible manager to contribute for the risk management as one of their tasks as an organization level. Okay, and then we go to the operational level. So these are our operational risk management processes. So now we also introduce a ABRA, activity-based risk assessment, to shift a focus from a generic risk assessment for health and safety to the task-specific, a scope-specific risk assessment, which means if they're going to install a panel, they should be activity-based risk assessment for that activity only. So we also change the mindset of copy and paste risk assessment of our HSE professional. We spent a lot of time, like a 6 to 7 years now, on this activity, and today we have a strong library for activity-based risk assessment where we are also planning to plug AI for the future. Okay, so with that database, can we generate risk assessment for a medium voltage switchgear overhaul? Okay, so can AI can develop some kind of generic contents for an engineer who is going to do a maintenance to take a reference and learn from others. And then we have a last minute risk assessment, and we also have a stop take 5. Simply 5 step they have to validate before starting any commissioning or service nature of job at the site. So in nutshell, this is a simplified way to present you what is the risk management framework we apply within the organization as of today. And then, yes.
Sorry, and successful?
I will say that as of today, process-wise, it was successful, process-wise. But now we shifted our focus to quality-wise now. Okay, because we are aiming to achieve a AI integration in the risk management. There we found 100 countries, okay, different diversity, different maturity of the risk assessment. Somewhere they focus more on administrative control, somewhere they are more on a practical controls on the or technical controls on the side. So now we are doing this kind of assessment for as part of our continual improvement journey now. But process-wise, it's a common mandate now, and you can validate globally. Every location we speak same language. So now, again, it's not only risk management, it's more than assurance. So how we are linking risk management with the assurance culture. Okay, so now with our from leadership up to the operational leaders as well, we are also helping them what kind of the right question you should ask in your meetings, your team dialogues as well. Okay, to explore more. Okay, rather than asking a closed question, you should go for the open question to assess the maturity of your people about the risk management. So we given them some tips as well, like ask your people where you're going to work, who is going to work, what they're going to do, how you are going to do, and when you're going to complete that job. So this is some kind of coaching and guidance as a leaders for their observation management tools as well, what kind of question you have to ask, because this is also linked to mature our care culture within the organization. Okay, so because end of the day, we are socializing this risk management conversation within the organization through these channels. And I think last time I covered, now we integrated also 4D approach, the hope principles as well, where also 4D principle, if you are a business leader, if you are a responsible business manager, okay, or a sales head or a service head, what kind of maturity we expect from you at organization level? And if you are operational leaders, what kind of maturity we expect from you at the operation level? We try to segregate those two parallelly. So HSE conversation or topic should not be generalized anymore. Okay, and this also build up a two-way communication back loop as well, from bottom to top. We are getting a lot of feedback now. For example, today being a function head, I'm ready to take any feedback, frustration from our business leader that this risk management process is not making any sense to us. It is a barrier to execution. And then it end up with the conversation. We had a dialogue together where both parties aligned finally. Okay, yes, let's agree on something for a simplification on alignment, but parallelly operation has also to get more involved. Actually, we also sense some opportunity for better engagement with that. So today, though risk management becomes a like a topic, general and social topic, we can see we are getting a lot of bottom up feedbacks now. Even the best practices been reported once we started to invest in this approach last 2 years now. So for me, again, what is the key takeaway for this experience? What we have, like we started like a 3 to 4 year in this business where I'm heading now. We are really positively encouraging the risk conversation. So it also helping us to build an open culture. Any business leaders, okay, even my divisional president, they pick a simply phone. Actually, I am struggling over there. So can we discuss on something? Okay, maybe I want your viewpoint as well. Actually, uh, before making a decision, is it a right decision or a wrong decision? Okay, and this give us an opportunity as a function to get involved at early stage. You can forecast what is coming for the future to you. So it's mean we are more part of building trust in the organization, the business strategy part, rather than fixing the control, running behind the operations. So we shifted this focus with our proactive engagement, and this is helping us to build a psychological safe work environment, okay, where people see that their leaders talk openly about the conversation on the different HSE and risk management. So they also hear the feedback from them. And also many time the I can share, we have some cases about the health and well-being issues being reported by the people in the country like Indonesia, where people has to spend 2 hours on the traffic itself because the manager was asking them to show up in the office every day. But once the leader has got this kind of feedback in a conversation, this is, oh, there are two risks. There are health risks are there are road safety risks are there. Why can't we apply a flexible HR policy for our employees? You can work from home. So which means we eliminated people's traveling on a road with a simple management decision. And also it changed now a HSC KPI culture in the organization. I remember my early days in ABB when health and safety dashboard was the first slide in any management meeting. Everybody see the numbers. Numbers are green, they clap, they move to the next topic. We stop that anymore now. Okay. So today the our message within the organization that your KPIs are outcome of your people's effort. Do you know the your people's contribution today? The time you will be having that pulse in the hand, okay, trust me, your KPIs are going to towards the right direction. So now they switch their mindset. Now today the KPIs are there, how many NCRs we picked in the audits, which is a proactive KPI. Maybe 80 to 90% of the organization treat NCR as a reactive KPI, but we treat NCR as a proactive KPI because it's mean people are more involved, they are penetrating themselves in the management system, and they are bringing their own gaps on the table. Okay, so this kind of shift also I have seen over the time. Those conversation has been shifted now, and now they says, oh, how many activity-based risk assessment you carry out for your operations? They are asking this kind of question to individual operations manager. Do you have a visibility? If you don't have, go and connect with your people. And it is leading us to the operational maturity at the front line. And on the other side, a lot of coaching opportunities are there for our function. So where the people are connected to the local leaders, helping them to deliver their job responsibility linked to health and safety. And in nutshell, being a function leader, where I have really proud of that. Okay, we are getting a lot of best practices down the line where people has applied a new tools, okay, new machineries, new practices over there, new engagement with the contractors. We are getting a lot of customer appreciation as well. They want to benchmark with us how we went through this journey. We have a similar challenge where even I'm open actually with the any professional as well to benchmark our journey with sharing your experience as well, because end of the day in the profession we learn from each other. So this was from my side. Here I'm concluding my presentation actually. So our risk focus program today, okay, it is fully embedded to drive our care value within the organization. So, and it starts with the conversation on the risk topic. We build such a openness. Now risk management become a proactive element. We changed the previous audit style as well to the self assurance assessment assurance, which means we define the criteria, we align with our countries, and we have a tools where you have a full transparency from local to global, how those audits being conducted, what are their evidences over there. And then this, we have a NCR KPI and on-time NCR closer KPI, not for HSE function, that is for operational function. Our operational team members, they have an incentive KPI 100% on-time NCR closer, which means 90 days. So if that rate will be maintained, their AIP individual incentive program, they will be paid fully actually. And this is also linked with the management tool. And ultimately, today I can say that any incident happen, no one react in the organization. Okay, no one blame the local organization. Nobody blame about the people and culture. We find the opportunity for the future improvement from that and how we can do the things differently next time. And at the last, we are working now to plug all those doors from a management system framework to digital tools and AI solutions as well. How we can connect the dot from all the program to see everything on a single screen going forward. Where we are investing heavily within the ABB as well as within the function, because our CEO says you can only sell digital if you are like demonstrating walk the talk, integrating digital and AI in your own way of working. So this is we are aiming now. So we every small improvement we appreciate the people today down the line, and that is helping us really to build a open culture, open conversation within our team, and where risk management enhancement is also we can see there it is visible now down the ground over the time. So happy to take any question from your side.
Well, thank you very much, Rohit. I thought that was really, really good, and I can already see areas where I can definitely use that where I'm working. One question for me: any resistance? Obviously, well, probably the question of how long has this journey been? When did you start doing it, and how resistance and how did you deal with that?
I will tell you. In my initial time in this business, I am like a 5 year now in this business, running this business now. My first 2 years were really like a reactive. Okay. But where I was ready to even to take a golden bullet on my head actually. So when I was pulled in many management meeting, you will not believe one of the meeting I have attended where this is your activity-based risk assessment program is going to cost us $500,000 actually. So that kind of things brought by operation on a table. We need additional people and we need additional tools over there. You are overburdening our people. But with those conversation and negotiation, finally it went to our favor. And I can say today I have a blank check from my operation teams. If I have to invest in any new innovative tool, okay, that's the trust being built over there over the time.
And that's the secret, isn't it? Getting that buy-in, and I suppose setting it out in a certain way really sort of impresses on the management teams to do that. But obviously, not everyone gets it.
Yes.
Unless you can demonstrate those benefits. I mean, I can see the benefits of it, and I suppose it draws on stuff that we, if anyone's done an EBOS diploma or anything like that, it draws on those things about the people from the top leading it. But you've got to. Do you think it's helped in terms of not just thinking about safety, thinking about the whole package to demonstrate to management in terms of the benefits, not just safety or quality? It's the whole thing. Do you think that's helped sell that to the management team?
So there is a switch now, even in my role as well, how the management team, they see my role. So I'm no more a HSE professional for them. So I'm a risk advisor for them, actually.
Right.
So that's the reason they pull you in a strategic discussion. Oh, we have this challenge on the table. I sense it from different eye, how you see. So there's a feedback loop is there. Okay. And then it is also giving us advantage as a function from the day one, what is going to happen. So for example, we have some project in Pakistan. Okay. We have a project in Africa. So your risk trigger your horses of the risk will move really fast. Oh, you are going to deliver some job next year in Africa, in the middle of nowhere. How to plan it? Maybe we have to reach out to the local organization. Now, what is our capability or capacity in that area? Are we ready for crisis management? Okay. So then ultimately you come up with a proposal to the same management team with a solution or with your ideas. This is building somehow trust.
Yeah. And trust being very key, isn't it? And being embedded in the team, isn't it? I mean, we talk about risk management, and we're all risk managers, whatever role you're doing, isn't it? It's not just health and safety risk, isn't it? Everyone in the business is managing risk at some point. And the slides I shared in terms of the risk professional piece was trying to demonstrate that as well. We did the pillars when we first started the network, but no, really, really interesting. Anyone else on the call in terms of can see how that might help them, or any questions for Rohit in terms of what he's displayed?
Not really any questions, but just very much appreciated. I think it's given us a lot to think about. It's really interesting that you say that your role's changed from a health and safety advisor to a risk advisor. It's something we're thinking about internally at the minute, just not moving as quick as I'd like on. But just giving people that thought process around all-encompassing risk and not pigeonholing it into health and safety, which for a long time has been viewed quite negatively. I think when you start talking about risk, you talk about being an enabler to the business rather than sometimes health and safety, which is seen as a draw. So I think it's a really interesting concept. Definitely give me a lot to think about. So thank you, Rohit.
So Connor, thanks for your feedback as well. And one of the experience I can share with you actually that I am managing a team of 40 people across the different part of the globe today. So if you can see that previously HSE people were waiting that they should be invited for the meeting. And even I have changed the mindset now today. No, you guys go and talk to your operations, build a relationship with them. And today, many of those places, they've been integrated in those discussions from the day one, actually. It was not a overnight journey, okay? But the message from the top, we were driving this. And also, I was like envisioning in my head as well, why HR is HR business partner and HSE role is HSE advisor. Okay. Why every business manager, HR is the right or left hand of the business leader, not the HSE. But over the time today, HSE is also, I think I can say, next to the business leader. They can talk openly, they can discuss, they can take a feedback. Even if they will not be satisfied locally, they pick a phone, they ping me, Rohit, we have this situation, we need your 5 minutes actually. How you see this openness with the time we have built up.
Yeah.
And I think that's that trust piece, like you said, building that trust that and I suppose being part of the team, kind of like you sort of hinted at, so being viewed as part of the team, not the policeman, not the you'll get me out the stick, or not that blocker. I've heard those words. You're stopping me. Why? You want to be that, and I think sometimes, I find it where I work and wherever I've worked. You want to be that devil's advocate. You want to sort of ask the right question, but you don't want to do it in terms of you want to be confident and it's going to be received the right way. And if it's not viewed in terms of where it's coming from, it can be viewed in a very difficult way, can't it? Anyone else, Lauren, Elzeby, any comments in terms of what Rohit's kindly shared? Rohit, are you happy to share slides and
I'm
stuff
happy
afterwards?
to share.
Yeah.
That'd be really useful. Thank you.
Yeah. Elzeby, Lauren?
Yeah, I found it really useful. I kind of agree with the approach. I'm sort of trying to get that approach where I am. I think there's a bit of a disconnect really between the risk management and the health and safety sort of systems feeding into it. So yeah, that's given me a lot of food for thought for how to get that kind of like connected and the dots joined.
Yeah, I think it's the holy grail, and if you can get that buy-in, like you say, Connor, sometimes it doesn't always work, does it? Or you don't get the buy-in, or it can be quite frustrating, can't it, guys? We're working in what we do. I know I get frustrations, and we're all ultimately in what we do in terms of make a difference and make a change and keep people safe. But risk is so much more than that, and I think people need to open the eyes in a certain way. And I think sometimes, I know, Rohit, the way you described it there, the way you sort of demonstrate it and the images, I think are really clear. Sometimes it's the way you describe it, the communicator, isn't it? Is key, isn't it? And we can be very passionate about what we do, but then that passion can sort of be beaten out of us, isn't it? If they're not getting it, and maybe it's just the way we present it sometimes. And Connor's nodding. I'm sure you've been there, haven't you?
Oh, 100%. And I think it's a really interesting concept when you then start talking about risk, because it goes from when I joined this business, all of my health and safety advisors were known as SHEC officers, and that creates a connotation. So we changed them to SHEC advisors. But I like this concept of moving towards risk advisors, because it goes from they're there to tell me off and tell me I'm doing things wrong, to risk feels like a more strategic business partner. If I'm in operations, risk is a concern to me. If I'm in finance, risk is a concern to me. So actually it just creates a more all-encompassing conversation where it feels like a value-adding part of the business rather than the draw.
And I think describing the risk piece is that it's that being included, like you touched on as well, being asked to be included, it should be natural that you're included. And if you take out, the safety or whatever, you're not sort of pinning yourself down for just those subjects. If you just call it risk, everyone understands the word risk, you'd hope. You get invited to those meetings, is that risk? And you hope to get that mindset that it is all risk, and you'll get invited maybe to those meetings. That maybe sometimes, I know where I work or where I've worked across the different sectors, you're almost like, oh, I should have invited you. I should have had you in the room. Oh, I didn't, or I have to go, I didn't hear about that. What was discussed? Where it should be just, you're there anyway, aren't you? Because you're part of that, and risk is everywhere, isn't it? So I think I love the
you end up sort of chasing to be in meetings. I know the team have in the past, like we should have been in that discussion, and like you say, it's often forgotten. But we have a thing in our business that doesn't really matter what you do. The CEO will say, "Have you run that past commercial finance?" And it's known that everything you do, you've got to check your commercial case for it. What I'd like to do is get to a position where everybody expects that they're going to be asked, have you run that past the risk team? It's that change. It's very much culture, isn't it? That change in culture to really shift towards, are we managing what we should be? But I guess that starts with the work that your team are doing, Rohit, and then everyone starts to instill that trust in the...
So, Connor, it was not an easy journey.
I don't imagine it was.
We've been challenged by many CFOs as well. Okay, so that this is a cost spending function. Okay, so what productivity you guys bring it back? So these, I think we all has come through this journey over that time. But you all will be surprised actually today. I never costed for my function in my career, in 17-year career in ABB. There's no budget for HSE. Okay, the budget itself, with the time you are limiting when you set up a budget. Because budget and care principle having no compromise. Okay, so it means you are going to control the care. So for us, for example, we have sometime emergency over there. I remember in my experience in the old time in the remote areas where one of the contractor got hurt and we don't have a medical facility in Africa or India or Asia, some part. We evacuated the people with some private helicopters as well over there. Even a contractor, a third party vendor over there. So then, end of the day, money comes. Okay, money comes from the business, money comes from the project. But then we slowly started to shift the mindset. Okay, why we have to spend this reactively? Why we can't plan it proactively? Like this one experience costing this much of reactive cost for us, we could have been prevented. Okay, we could have been saved, like having a proactive dialogue. So over the time, then this given us a opportunity to get involved proactively. Okay, and we started to put some provision through our project management well in advance, shifting that liability to our customers.
Yeah, and I think you talk about we talk about safety by design, elimination. It's simple, isn't it? The message is simple, but it's just getting that buy-in, that realization what it means, and talking about risk in general. I think we all agree. I think on the call, and it's really good. But it's like you said, it's not easy. It's easy on paper.
It's a journey. It's a journey. It's a journey to build the maturity. It's a journey within the organization, and every organization is on the different stage today. Okay, it's for me. I always says our role as a risk professional is only to connect the dots. That's it. Okay, you should be smart enough to connect the dots and get the work done from other functions. That's it. They will work for you.
Yeah. And that's a key, isn't it? Like we talked about, that buy-in and everyone realizing that it's for the greater good. And I think a bit like we talked about a minute ago, is like, if you're not embedded, if you're not part of the team, then that can get lost. But you're very popular when it goes wrong, aren't you? I'm sure everyone on the call is very, very popular when things go wrong. But we should never get to that stage. We're trying to, and it's interesting what you said, the budget piece in terms of, it doesn't matter what it costs. We should be viewed by a CFO or whatever. We're saving money, aren't we? We're protecting the business. We're managing that risk. If something goes wrong, it's going to cost a lot more than it is to then invest some time and get it right.
That's the mindset. That's the mindset, because they see the impact in a bigger picture. They don't see only the spending on a health and safety reactive cost. Because we lose customer reputation, we lose the business, we lose end of the day brand as well. And end of the day, we are responsible for our people. Okay, so what we are going to say to about their families afterwards. So once it comes to our value of care, no negotiation on that.
Yeah. And do you think, obviously ABB, a massive company, do you think that model, it's a bit of a leading question, do you think that model would work for a slightly smaller company? Different difficulties, or do you think that could quite easily translate? I mean, I think it could myself, but what are your thoughts?
I will say that up to the medium scale company, it's a working model. But for the small scale company, I'm doubtful, because sometimes it may be a family business, okay, where the decision making ends up with one individual over there, or one or two individuals over there. There I am doubtful. Okay. But I come from that background as well. Like in the past, I worked for those companies. End of the day, if you have an influencing power to influence that person, to show some dollar value, what benefit it is going to bring back to you, I don't think so anybody will resist. End of the day, being a risk professional, we have to talk about the dollar value, impact versus opportunity.
Yeah, and I love the piece about the NCRs being that proactive piece. I mean, we do that quite where I work at the moment, that NCR piece, and we've done loads of work over the last couple of years. But being a real positive, because the word non-conformance has a negative connotation already, isn't it? When you're highlighting that. So, but you still call it NCRs with ABB. You still call it that
NCR.
sort of. Yeah.
So we have a two level of assessment audits. One is our own audit, like I'm auditing my own business, I'm auditing my own local units. Then we have an independent one, okay, which comes from the next level of ABB. Okay, so we are more concerned for those NCR because that pick the flaws in our processes. For the self-assessment, I will be happy that if the local team brought a NCR on a table, because end of the day, they did a deep dive, and there's an ownership to fix the gaps.
Okay, yeah. Connor, what sort of size, I should know, but what size sort of company do you work for, and how would you see this implementing well in your company?
So we had a meeting with the HSE last week, and they told us that we were complicated.
Is that good or bad?
Well, we're about 2,200 people, but we're split across 7 subsidiary businesses.
Right.
So it's all utilities, construction, and asset management. But a lot of it was through mergers and acquisitions. So we've bought a lot of companies over the last few years.
You bought the different cultures. You bought the different cultures.
All the different systems, yeah.
I'm responsible for a group business, but I've got about 7 different cultures that operate within it. So I thought the HSE's description was pretty apt. We are complicated. I think we've got a new CEO who's quite keen on shifting some of that complication and making us a little bit more streamlined, which will massively help us from a health and safety and risk front. But at the minute, it's quite difficult. Now, don't get me wrong, because we work in regulated spaces, The risk controls are very strong, but everybody just goes about things in a slightly different way. And Rohit, must be exactly the same when you're dealing across different continents. That for me, it's not that everyone's speaking literal different languages, but it feels like it in terms of the fact that you've got companies that are talking about the same type of risk controls, but in a completely different way, calling them different things. So it's been interesting. 3 years. It's certainly had a full.
So maybe Gaurav, like if I can ask two questions to you, okay? So maybe that somehow maybe I can share my experiences as well, or we are happy to connect on that part. So either first question is there that either risk management integrated in your merger and acquisition strategy, HSE risk consideration?
I don't think so. Not in the way that it should be. I'm often
So
dealing
maybe,
with a lot of the risk management post acquisition rather than pre.
so maybe this is one tip you can share with your management team actually, because in our organization we have a quite robust process. Even we get involved over there. Okay, so this is a natural mechanism of flow for us. We have some triggers been identified where we give a functional input to them. Please verify, because you know from the day one who is coming to your family, and then you can plan your strategy accordingly. Okay, because it is quite difficult to integrate. Sometimes it takes years to pull them alongside with you. Secondly, now you have a group of company. Do you have a one common framework or a common strategy for HSE, or you allow them everyone to use their own? That's freedom is there.
We have a group strategy, but it doesn't stop people going off on their own journeys.
Okay. So we had a similar challenge last 5 years, because I'm sitting at the group level or global level. Then I have a business line under me, which comes under different industry. Then I have a 40 countries to manage down the line. So what we achieve over the time, a one single strategic plan, okay, which having a common language, common priorities. It was not a easy journey, but if I would have been driven from top to bottom, I would have been failed. Okay, but what I have done, I asked them bottom up, guys, can you come up? What are your priorities? Are there? Everybody has come up. They brought some country regulation, customer regulation, all these things, and then we did a blending actually of all of that, and then we draw the guardrails to that core common distinct guardrail. And today that is somehow functioning now, I can say, and we speak one language, one code down the line.
No, really interesting. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it's the leaders from the top, isn't it? It's key from the top, that strategy piece, like you said, and like you said, embedding whatever change management. I was thinking when you were talking about how something changed, isn't it? And how do we bring those people? And people don't like change, do they? And potentially, if it's a merge or an acquisition, people don't like to be taken over, do they? In some of their companies, and it's worked for us for years, and they've been successful, because you wouldn't want to buy them, would you? The bigger company wouldn't want to buy them if it wasn't successful, but. Change is something that people push back on. We don't know that human beings don't like a bit of change, but that embedding in from that strategy and being clear, communicating that strategy is really key, I think. And the simplification that you demonstrate, Rohit, in terms of really breaking it down in terms of very, very simple steps and the blocks of it that could be, talking about languages, translated across all, very simple to understand, isn't it? Those key building blocks, I think you called it, those key components. I can see how simplified that could be to go anywhere, across the world. I was really impressed by that simplification, because sometimes we're all victims and all guilty of being a bit complicated, because we want to be perfect, don't we? And I think that came across. Yeah.
I can share that experience about Jenga game. We have a management training. We have a 3-hour workshop with them where we play Jenga game. So they spend almost like a 20 to 30 minutes in a group of team actually to build the Jenga, where we have 2 steps. First step we say is, okay, build the Jenga. It should be the tallest within the group competition. Okay. Yeah. But we don't open the another second fold of the competition. So we firstly ask them, your Jenga should be the tallest, and there's some rules for that. Okay, how to build it. And the first time they go with that, they build up. There's a competition. Someone use the tallest model, but it's not stable. Okay, but the second part of the game that they have to pull each block from bottom to up, and whoever collapse, they're out of the game actually. Okay, and then we have a debrief session, And then everybody, how you come to this strategy, how you plan this Jenga, okay? So what are the components you have discussed, how the teamwork has been there, how you given a shared feedback. And then they all open up. They say, so yeah, we have structured, one guy was leading design, what was leading the strategy, okay? So I was more executor, I was controlling them. And then our debrief for that game is that this is a risk assessment in simple nutshell. Okay, so you have planned your scope of work, you won't have a resources, you have a different brains over that. Ultimately you want to win the game actually, and our day-to-day business is winning the operation every day. Okay, but again you failed. Okay, you failed. If the tower got collapsed, you failed in that. But what you learn out of this, are you going to do the things differently next time? So we said like a 20 minutes for the first part, 20 minutes for the second part. If those 40 minutes you would have been spent for any risk assessment in a team, you will be the world's best team actually to manage the risk.
And did you get some sort of light bulb moments? Did people sort of get it?
Yes,
Did people
I
get
will
those?
say it's a fascinating conversation afterwards. And
Yeah.
people come up, you will ask a supply chain manager who is bringing a transformer to the site. They just started to link it immediately. Oh, how I have to plan next time. Maybe this is the conversation I'm going to pull my all the stakeholders. So the message is quite simple, and it is a fun as well. But ultimately today, what is the challenge with all of us as a professional? Like you, me, or maybe Connor, everybody or Lauren is going to the same experience. We manage team down the line. Many people are sharing a mindset of advisor or regulatory mindset or compliance mindset, and they end up with the copy and paste approach in the risk assessment. Dialogues are missing, inputs are missing. So we expect from a HSE professional to do a risk assessment for a live voltage, high voltage switch gear actually, who don't know the incomer and outgoing in that. Okay, who can do the risk assessment is a person who is there, but HSE and operational person, they should be a conversation, both should be aligned on a common way of delivering or executing that job. This conversation is going to make the difference in the whole risk management effectiveness.
Yeah, and if you don't have the planning piece and factor in that time, that contact time with the two people or the three people or the many people, then you're going to miss it, aren't you? You're going to make mistakes.
And every manager expect HSE person has to do the risk assessment. That's another mindset we are dealing.
Yeah.
Okay. And they expect that we are a super genius. We have a magic stick of everything. We know from train to electrical system to water to biological to environment, everything. And ultimately, sometimes the complacency, okay, that also kill us as a professional because we want to control everything.
Yeah. Yes, and that the generic, like you say, the copy and paste becomes a risk, and and it's important because every job is different. Yeah, and you've got to spend the time thinking about it. And like you say, the magic wand that we all have on this call and everyone in our profession has to solve everything. Can be quite frustrating and amazing. It's still like that sometimes, isn't it? I'm sure. I know Connor just nodded, didn't he? Nodded for It's interesting how some of these subjects, and we'll talk about it in other meetings. These keep coming up, don't they? And how we break that chain. But brilliant, Rohit. I really enjoyed that. I'm sure everyone else really enjoyed that. I'm sure you're happy to share some of the slides to the group in the minute.
So that I will share with you, and if anyone need any more information, I'm happy to connect as well. Okay, so separately to just exchange, because I always keen to benchmark with someone. So maybe your experience will also help us.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Well, definitely, and I hope this is the crux of what the network's about. The Emerging Risk Leaders Network's about where we can learn these things. I'm already going to order 5 packs of Jenga for the next company day. We can joke about it, but I think that really, really could tell about how we get that teamwork. And I think sometimes some companies work in silos, don't they? They work in silos. The sales team have done their job, tick, and move on. And it goes down to, like you say, Rohit, the ops guys are left a little bit in the lurch to solve those, bring in those new controls, make those solutions, and it should be solved. It should be solved before then, shouldn't it? They should be getting that guidance, that support they need. Brilliant. Has anyone else got any comments for Rohit before we sort of move on and discuss a few other bits on the agenda, or has anyone got any sort of ideas from that they'd like to talk about in the next meeting? I suppose is a good opportunity to ask.
So maybe I have an idea. I think in your agenda was there for a next article as well in the magazine.
Yeah.
So if you want, I can just draft something over there actually on the risk maturity. Okay, so I can
Yes.
share my experience on that. But I
Yeah.
need some criteria or guidance on that. Okay, because recently I published one article internally as well on this part.
Okay.
Shifting the mindset. Okay, on the risk management.
Well, I'm definitely, as you think, Julie would take a note, and I'm sure Fiona will be really, really keen to hear some information on that. And if you need anyone on the group to sort of have a little bit of input into that, Rohit, I'm sure they'd be really keen to get involved.
Yeah, if you could send me a copy of your presentation, Rohit, then I can send it to Fiona with the information and she can get in touch.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Definitely. I think that was really enjoyed that. Lauren, any comments on that? Or Elsby, any comments? And I hope that this is the sort of thing we talked about last time in terms of this. People feel strongly about a subject or can help the rest of it, but this is sort of the stuff that we really want. So I really appreciate that, Rohit. Lauren, you've got anything to say?
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Rohit. That was really interesting. A lot of crossover with what I was working on with like moving now our risk functions from a doing department, doing the risk assessments for people to advising and coaching and helping people through them. But at the same time, I guess I was sort of thinking that it was kind of I suppose a bit contradictory, but I was thinking, yeah, sometimes we want to get invited to those tables where the risk decisions are made to assist and things like that, and we're often not. But then at the same time, we're the ones expected to do the risk assessment on the ground and at the operational level. So I find that really interesting as well.
Yeah, I think that's a key point, Lauren, because like you said about that piece that you've sent some information on, so thanks very much for that, in terms of how that function, and we're going through something similar where I am in terms of how the function is viewed, what the function does in terms of SHIKU, where I am. But like I say, if you get invited to a meeting, I'm invited because there's an action that comes and falls on you, isn't it? That should sit somewhere else.
So Lauren, the easy tip for that to come out from that challenge, ask the right person or the decision maker, when is your next meeting? I want to be part of that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I want to be a silent observer in the first meeting, but I want to be part of that meeting. And even your one feedback or one advice during that meeting, you will become a permanent member from the next time onwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And actually, I don't think they realise. I mean, I find that kind of risk management function sits at a strategic level often, whereas the health and safety risk assessments sit at an operational level, and kind of like I feel like they don't really realize that what your skill set and what you can bring to the table, because I think the risk management usually sits with finance. They don't really understand the operational side of the operational risks and that kind of thing, whereas people probably do. So yeah, it's kind of just, I think sometimes just getting the right people at the right table doesn't usually happen very well in companies.
Yeah, I think it's easy sometimes to sort of, like you touched on, Rose, it's sometimes easy for people to think about numbers, isn't it? See the numbers in terms of finance point of view. What's the risk? Oh, it's going to cost us this. And I think sometimes, and maybe it's been around for a long time about how we talk about health and safety in numbers, but when we talk about risk, it's not all about numbers, is it? It's about everyone's keeping people safe, but it's making sure people treat it the same way. I work with a lot of commercial teams, and it's very easy for them to get hurt in terms of what they're, the risk in terms of contractual risk, in terms of numbers. But it's harder. I don't know why it is. I mean, maybe other people have different experiences, but harder sometimes for us to sort of. It's easy to talk about cost of an injury or an incident, but actually it gets lost very quickly, isn't it, in the other costs that could be a risk.
So, Trevor, I think that's an interesting point, actually. So I remember my old time, actually, when I invested a lot on a financial literature, actually, that I should be able to read a financial report or all the financial dashboard, what this shows to us. Even now, I ask this question whenever I interviewing the leaders and health and safety leader as well. Can you read what is the revenue? Okay, what is the EBIT? What is the profitability? Okay, The reason is that if you will not speak that language in those boardroom, actually how it can impact on a business continuity. Okay, so you can't forecast those number or what is the provisions you are considering in your business planning. Okay, you will be treated just as a function. But the time when you pick those like abbreviation or those financial metrics, you can correlate the impact of those risk with those number with some assumptions over there. As you ask about the cost of incident, what is the cost of incident? We have a theory, a direct cost, indirect cost in the health and safety you can calculate. Okay, but ultimately they want to see for one scenario itself what is your assumption, and it is up to us how smartly we can present it, and we can get attention of the boardroom, and next minute they will say, okay, just move on, keep the provision, or otherwise come out from the business. That's it. Decision is so quick.
Yeah,
and
and I think, sorry, Lauren, go on.
Yeah, I also find that like boards are more interested in sort of return on investment rather than what could be lost, I guess. And it's really hard for us to calculate return on investment. But kind of if we don't speak their language and speak that language, then we kind of don't get their interest.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly that, Lauren. It's like, I think maybe, and you talk, you think about all the qualifications that we've done or going to do in the future. How many of them are business finance based? How much does it? So the language is the same. How much of that is to get that message across in the language that the boards, the management team, the CEOs understand? And I think sometimes there's a disconnect, isn't there? How getting that message across in the right wording and the right way, and the right, statements, the right words is important. The same message with us around the table here as professionals, but would be slightly. We know what we're talking about in terms of cost of injuries, etc. But if we don't, so it's interesting. Maybe that's something that the institution can look at in terms of business communication for a SHEC or a health and safety professional. And it sounds very basic saying it like that, but maybe that's a way, because it's easy. We talk about, I've been loads of courses, and you've got to argue the cost of accidents and the reputation that, but actually maybe the wording is slightly wrong in the way it's sort of taught or said. I don't know what people's thoughts are there. That might be something that the institution can take forward in terms of being at the head table and talking in the language of the board.
And Trevor, in some time as well, okay, how I win operation function in my experience over the time, actually, because they have a KPI of cost of poor quality reduction. Okay, cost of poor quality. And many incident, I push it out from HSE. I said, this is not even HSE incident. It is a quality incident. Okay. And now I'm figuring out, now I'm calculating for you the cost of downtime from here. And then this ended up with building a partnership or a collaboration with them, because they see, okay, that that person can speak the same quality language or the KPI financial language, because they have to win that one. And then they come for the negotiation on the table. Okay, this is okay, let's work in this area. There's a win-win opportunity for quality function, for operation function, for HSE function altogether. And next time there is no like a we versus them anymore. Okay, so it is end of the day, they see it's a collective ownership, collective responsibility as well. And then you can park the things to them easily, and they will do your job in health and safety.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Rohit. Really good. Thanks for everyone's input. Lauren, did you want to touch on what you've shared with us a little bit, explanation what you've shared with us and what you've been working on, just so we sort of close out what the information you've shared?
Yeah, I guess I can do. I wasn't going to just read through the whole presentation.
No, just a little bit of a taster in terms of what you were going to. Yeah.
So I know that we discussed last time that I'd sort of like been through this transition of the health and safety function moving from like a doing one, change in structure and or size of the organization, rapid change in size of the organizations meant that like it's not sustainable for the safety function to do all the safety work. So I've been through this transition a few times, a few companies, of moving from a doing to an advisory sort of function. I'll mention a few things that have been sort of like key things that have like really made a big impact. So I think the first one is the fact that you've got to have the leadership on board. And it's got to be led from the leadership. They've got to, have the same idea of what the safety function is, and or even like specify what the safety function, what their vision of the safety function is as well. The second one is like really defining the roles, responsibilities of the safety function, but also of other people you want involved in the management of safety and things like that. So your line managers, your operators, your departmental risk champions and things like that, which are, I would say, is the third point I was going to mention. Really key people to get on board really quickly. Did a lot of policy kind of updates and things like that for moving over and clarifying the roles and responsibilities. So that policy updates and policy implementation, really key. Also the arrangements and things like that for where people should feed into safety committee forums and things like that. Yeah, so I mentioned the departmental sort of risk champion or safety champion. I think really important, really key role, because it's just one person then to go to who you can sort of train up, coach, and advise in sort of like safety. A lot of people might say that they don't have like the safety knowledge and that kind of thing. So you're there to sort of like be their right hand man in some cases, to guide them, support them, but then they will drive that sort of culture change within their own departments, and that can be really effective. The other thing is also giving them the tools and systems to be able to do it. So often when you start off as a doing function, you've got really poor tools and they're not very visible to the rest of the organization. So yeah, just having the visibility of your KPIs and your dashboards for bringing out information so that the teams can use it and have visibility over their health and safety performance and management, really important. So I say that like it's really simple, but actually that's the bit that probably takes the time, like developing those tools and systems. Yeah, I think. But yeah, I think the main thing. So I put in the presentation a book that's really sort of sums up kind of the role of the advisory function, and separating the tasks. And I know it's a lot easier said than done, because we're all caring people and we want to get involved, we want to help, and we start off having a lot of control over the work we're doing and managing safety. But I think kind of you got to kind of relinquish some of that control when you separate tasks. You've got to be really clear on what's your task, what their task is. Don't get involved when they make a decision that may not be the decision that you wanted to make. And just let them have ownership over their tasks. I think was a real key message in the book. And I think it's a really good book.
How have you found that, Lauren? I'm sure a lot of people in our roles would find that quite difficult. Has that been challenging?
Of course it is, yeah, because of course you start and it comes from if you have different backgrounds as well. So I had a background of doing safety, and then to move to not doing safety, that's a really big change, because it's kind of your I guess giving up a lot of your, I guess you feel like you're using your knowledge that you've got over years.
Yeah.
And then you're not, but you're just kind of sharing your knowledge.
What have you done to make sure that you've made that change in terms of, you said you've gone it through a few times, but on this cycle you're doing now, what have you done? Where have you got more, it might have been some training or some competency. What have you done for you personally? Because that'd be really good to share, because we talk about training of other people and improving their competency. What have you done to make sure you're comfortable in what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't think there's really any kind of training like official training or anything like that. I kind of have just got more confident with it because I've done it a couple of times. I've just built up that experience of doing it and knowing what needs to be done, and kind of being more confident in being able to step back. And I've always thought of my role as kind of like a sharer of all my knowledge and trying to sort of like do myself out of a job kind of a thing.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
So I quite like that, and I feel like that sort of never ends really, because you're always training people, and there's always this turnover of people, and you're just always training, giving knowledge and guidance and that kind of thing. But yeah, in terms of my training, I don't think I've had anything. It's just come with experience and being a bit stronger and a bit more kind of like just kind of staying within my boundaries of my role.
And you've had, and obviously there's opportunity. Yeah, I'm sure you've had lots of people sort of maybe early on, and when you're doing that sort of function change, and we're going through that at the moment actually. How do you make sure you push back when people are trying to give you that task, that rucksack on your back that's actually should be on their back?
Yeah, it's difficult. This is where the leadership, the having someone who is on board with you with what your role is really helpful, because then you have someone who has your backing when you say no. But yeah, it is just a case of just kind of just.
So Lauren, on this part actually. Do we have like maybe you all can share your experience as well, that do you have a quite structured job profile and job expectation from your role by the company, and who are your reporting lines are there? Those are clear as if in a formal way today?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So the role description is probably not that. It's probably a bit loose. Reporting structure though is pretty kind of like set in stone. So I report into the head of site, who we then report into the head of site.
The reason why maybe Trevor, what is your experience in your company that who define the job responsibility for HSE profession?
Yeah, so my line manager is the MD. So being clear, and like Lauren said, being clear in terms of what responsibilities, and when you're going through that change. I mean, we're going through that change, or trying to get that change in place at the moment. We've brought someone in from externally.
I just finished like a 2 month change management. We just fix it now.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite difficult from coming from a company that's done things in a certain way for a long time, and it's worked, and we're very successful. And trying to change that, and like Lauren said, coming from being a doer and a supporter, but I suppose the reason why I asked Lauren about the sort of how to get people to do it a little bit was that it's not necessarily my mindset. I know I can't do everything, and my team can't do everything, but it's trying to influence those other guys and change their mindset. So the type of company you are, what they've always done. And it's interesting about the leadership, and we've got quite a big leadership team, and some people are on board with it. Some people need to come on the journey with us a little bit more.
That's where I find the sort of like the risk champions really useful, because they're kind of like have volunteered into those positions, so are keen to sort of champion that change. So I've sort of lent on them to drive things a lot. I find that that's kind of an easy way of kind of
But Lauren, I have a different opinion now these days on this actually. Maybe we are the natural doer. Okay, we are like a natural champion. Okay, that is leading towards a complacency now. Okay, we want to control everything. Okay, in the function itself, because we end of the day we become a yes person actually. Okay, I will take over, but end of the day we are missing the opportunity to delegate or engage others. And this is the reason everything you develop, you design, you want to implement, and you want to get the result in your way. Okay, end of the day, engagement bit we got missed in this approach. And this is a challenge with the function in many places. That's the reason I ask you that who designed the job profile for HSE professional in the company?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
I challenge back my HR, I challenge back my business leaders as well, that if I have to do something or I have to deliver something, then the job description has to be changed.
Yeah.
Okay, because my expectation of the company towards this profession is totally different. You rate me as a HSE professional, but expectation level is as a risk professional, which is maybe 3 times more job. It need 3 times more skills in the management level as well on the other side. So there you have to develop yourself end of the day. You have to invest in yourself to develop a different skills. And in the same way, either our job profile or job expectation is clearly reflected in our we say about incentive plan, or we say about our annual performance indicators as well.
Yes.
So those also, it flows naturally in that. Okay, because many time I have seen that we kill the enthusiasm of HSE professional when business leaders simply target LTIFR rate with your incentive plan. This is, oh, you deliver low incident, okay, or below this rate, and then everybody focus to pray to the God that next incident should not happen, while
Yeah.
investing effort, okay, to build a system to pick the gaps and work on improvement opportunity. We all keep a finger crossed on the management system, again heading towards a compliance approach, not assurance approach.
And I think it's key, including, and I'm going through the process now where we're reviewing my job description where I work. But it's interesting, Lauren, in terms of what you said about those champions. It's the same thing, isn't it? Do those people that have volunteered to be a champion, is that included in their job description? Are they given the right time, the amount of time to do it? Are they incentivized to do it properly?
Also the management support of the line manager buy-in as well.
I was just going to mention that, actually, Trevor, exactly that one of the biggest biggest sort of impacts was actually getting that into their job descriptions as well, and having objectives related to that in their job description.
Yeah, and that's where leadership buy-in, HR team buy-in, but if you don't get if you haven't got that embedded in terms of the MD or CEO's description as well, they're not going to, and our roles description, then you're not going to get it right in terms of those champions, and you're not going to identify where because they should be viewing it as an opportunity to develop themselves, shouldn't they? I'm taking on this role, whether it's voluntary or part of their, should be embedded in their role, because everyone has those responsibilities. And then what training competencies, need to happen. I think it's a really interesting subject. I think it's,
we had an actual health and safety inspection recently from the HSE, and one of their comments was it was mainly to do with biosafety, which is sort of my area of expertise, but one of their key actions that came out of it was that we needed to embed anyone with a safety roles, anyone with a safety role embed it into their job description, so that they have that time and resource to be able to carry out that role. Because a lot of the time it just gets lost in amongst the other work that they do. So that was one of the key actions that did come out of that. And like you say, that's all any safety roles, so safety reps. We had like the biosafety management team, kind of like lots of roles within that sort of structure. And like you say, all the way up to the head of site, COO, C-suite. Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, I think it needs to be, if you don't embed it in their role and it becomes part of their role and they're given time to do it, then these things, whatever we talk about, will just die, won't they? They just not. People will get frustrated, lose their interest, and like you say, moving that function across as well. Hopefully, the idea, Lauren, is you've got more time to do your role to support the business and add more value. And again, we're back to what Rohit was saying in terms of embedding that. It's the right thing to do, included in the right, being able to implement what Rohit. So it's all linked, isn't it? Implement what Rohit said in terms of you've got to have the time to do it, haven't you? And the job. And we're going through that. And I work for an engineering firm that's been around for 48 years, and we've always done it sort of one way.
Yeah, sometimes you just don't have the time to do the sort of like the proactive stuff and the strategy and that kind of stuff. So everything's just always reactive, and it's just not sustainable, is it? And like you mentioned about your like kind of mental health, even like last time, just kind of like it's just not sustainable to be like always reactive and not have the time to do anything that really adds value, because it's not good for you.
Yeah.
It's not.
I think it's a really, and both subjects we've talked about really good. I'm just conscious of time, everyone's time, but I think, has anyone got any comments? Connor, any comments in terms of what Lauren said?
No, it is. I think she touched the reality now. What is the challenge for all of us in the profession? And definitely we have to sell ourselves. Okay. So I always benchmark HSE profession with the salesman, okay, sales function, why they are more rewarded than us. It is up to us how we sell ourselves. And thanks, Lauren, for all the information you shared.
Yeah, and I think if everyone can take an action to look at Lauren's stuff she shared, it might be maybe if people feedback, and it might be we want to talk about it in the next meeting in a bit more detail. And Lauren, was the intention to use some of that? I mean, obviously you might be mid-process, but at the end of that, sort of include some of those learnings in an article, or is that something just to sort of share in this group only? What was your thoughts?
Open to doing an article maybe at some point. If I can get some feedback from the group, that'd be really useful to help shape that.
Brilliant.
That'd be good.
Brilliant. Connor, were you going to say something, or?
No, I just think it echoes my experience, to be fair. So grateful for the discussion, because I think that's the beauty of this group, isn't it? Talking about things that we've got as ongoing challenges and challenging your perspective and the way that you think about things.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Really useful discussion.
Yeah, exactly that, and I think it's important. I mean, I'm going through exactly that process, you know, and also we've got to look after ourselves, haven't we? And it's about that, you know, and successful companies can be to the detriment of a safety team in terms of how busy they get without the structure in place and the people brought in. So I think it's really, really powerful thing to talk about. Maybe we can revisit again, Laura, in terms of I mean, I don't know how far you are along the journey in terms of doing it here, but obviously you've got experience of doing it a few times. I'm definitely going to send you an email and pick your brains a little bit more in terms of my current situation. But yeah, really, really powerful. I think everyone's really, really enjoyed that part. Has anyone got anything else they want to sort of comment on in terms of in general? I've stepped forward a little bit on the AOB, but has anyone got anything they'd like to discuss now, or maybe a discussion point? Because this part of this group as well is about maybe putting out some subjects and maybe getting everyone else's opinion to support the members. Has anyone got anything pressing that they want to discuss quickly now, or something in the future?
For me, but I just saw a comment that would come up at the bottom say about using this as a future discussion topic, and I think that would be really useful. One of the areas that we're working through, much the same as you and Trevor and Lauren, by the sound of things, is structure and where we sit, and what part does the risk operation sit in, what part does the health and safety function sit in, and actually define and what those strategic outputs should be. So I think a wider conversation on that would be really useful.
Yeah, and I can hopefully bring a bit there, because I'm mid it at the moment. We've got a consultant come in to support us, because my other thing is about resource, because we're all learning, and the board are learning as well how to do it, because it's always done it one way, and it's been quite useful talking to all the stakeholders. And at the moment we're in the phase where we're talking about this. Maybe we're definitely putting the subject for next meetings. Like, we're asking what they need, what do they want, and it's quite hard sitting in those meetings biting my lip saying, that's not really what you need, is it? Or what you're going to get. But it's a process to understand what they, and also understanding what they think it is. You know, their view of my role, my team's role, can be quite different from what we're trying to aim for. You know, so I think definitely we'll add that to the agenda for next time. I think it's really powerful. If you don't mind, Lauren, in terms of maybe doing a couple of slides in terms of just giving it a bit of structure, maybe for next meeting.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Brilliant.
No problem.
Perfect. Okay, conscious of time. So point 5 on the agenda, so career questions and queries. So we've been approached by Shirley Parsons. Is it Shirley Parsons, Julie? Is it? Am I saying that right?
It is, yeah. Liam
doubted myself.
Tiddy, I think.
Yeah, so Liam from Shirley Parsons is really keen, and the institution is really keen to work together. And he was asking about the opportunity maybe in the next couple of meetings to present some support or some information from what they can do in terms of career progression, support. Obviously, they are recruitment, as well. And he was keen to sort of get together. So I was going to arrange a meeting with Sabrina, Julie, and myself with Liam, discuss what that can be. So we'll update the group in terms of what that looks like in a bit more detail. But if there's any sort of questions or queries, maybe I'll have that meeting and share the outcome of that meeting in terms of maybe some areas that they might want to support the network. And I can share that with everyone. And if you guys can feedback outside of the meeting schedule to say that might be something of interest, that I can send back to them to Liam to sort of maybe pull something together as another subject matter that we want to talk about. Anyone? Oh, go on then, Julie.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think he's happy to come to a meeting, regardless of what else you come up with, to answer any career-related questions you might have. So if you want to think about any questions you'd like to ask him, I think he's keen to come along. And
brilliant. Yeah, and I think that's something that they've approached the institution. They want to work with us, and the network is a nice place for them to sort of support you guys or anyone else to join the network as we go forward. So I think that's a welcome opportunity for Liam to sort of make that approach. But like I said, we'll have a meeting before just to make sure that's clear for everyone. Any other business? Anyone want to bring anything else up, or any feedback, I suppose, on what we've talked about today, or where we want to go forward in terms of discussion points in future meetings?
Nothing from me, thank you.
No.
Same.
I think silence is a good thing. Brilliant. I've really enjoyed it. I think that's worked really well. And I think Julie, you're still on it. I think this is what we want the meeting to be about. Those points that people want to raise, share their sort of experience. And Rohit's done a great job, and Lauren, the stuff you shared well. And hopefully we can get some more out of that next meeting. I think it's exactly what we want this meeting to be. I hope everyone's enjoyed today. Julie, anything else you want to add yourself?
Yeah, just a couple of quick things. I'm mindful of time, so I'll skip a few things. If you're intending on attending the President's reception and you haven't booked your place, can you please book it ASAP, because we're finalising numbers. If you need the link, let me know. Just a couple of professional development webinars you might be interested in. I'll put the links now, and then I'll tell you about them. So one is Martin's Law. What is it and why does it matters on 10th September? That's on the Terrorism Protection of Premises Act. I think that promises to be a really interesting discussion. And then there's one on the 8th of October, Leadership for Sustainability, in case you're interested in that. And that's Tama Correll of iCore Systems. She's one of my North East Cumbria committee members, so you might find that useful. And as always, keep an eye out on the events page. I'll put a link to that to see what webinars there are. The branches are doing some great things which might help you do what you guys do. So check them out. You're welcome to attend any of them. So on that link is all the branch ones, the professional development webinars and the training courses as well. Any external courses. And that's the quickest I could make it.
You're slick. You're professional. Very professional to the end. Again, just so any other business for me, just a reminder that we've got this WhatsApp group. If you've not joined it or not been involved in that, there's something we just thought might be useful. Obviously, Lauren shared a few things on there that we can all look on there. But any feedback, maybe continue conversation a little bit. I know everyone's super busy, but anything else in terms of what we've heard today or we want to discuss, or any ideas in between the meetings of what we want to talk about. But I think Lauren, that Shiki function, the changes, and make sure that's right. I think we've ticked that box in terms of next time, but we'll catch up outside of that, what we want that to look like and what you want to share. Date of next meeting, Julie, we're in November, aren't we?
It should be on your agenda. I've lost it now. It's in November, and is it the 11th of November, or is it the week before? I can't find it now. I knew that would happen.
I knew that would happen for me. That's why I asked.
I can't find it. Where is it? Oh, there it is. It is the 11th of November at 10 a.m. UK time. Yeah.
So get that in your diary. Should already be in your calendars. If not, make sure that's in there.
I'll send out a reminder a couple of weeks before.
Yeah, and we'll share the minutes and we'll share the presentation that Rohit will kindly share with us, and we'll upload those to the network page. But Brilliant. Thanks very much, guys. Really enjoyed today. Hope that everyone's got those. I think it's really useful for me. Definitely useful for me, and I thank you for everyone's input. And we'll see you next time.
Right. Did you want to stay on a minute, Trevor?
Yes, we'll do. Yeah.
Thank
I'll
you
stop
all.
the recording. See you later, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. I'm just
Cheers,
uploading the presentation now. I'm just uploading the presentation
Brilliant.
now here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, Lauren. Cheers.